Garbage men slash woman of the world. What's the best slash worst thing you have found thrown away? When I was a kid, my dad worked for a company that hauled away dumpsters and at one point found an old Alto sax complete in the box. Ended up playing it for 4 years up until high school when it was stolen. Couldn't play after that since my family couldn't afford a rental, let alone pay for a new one. Friend of ours found 2 bullet resistant vests with paramedic written across them being thrown out behind a fire station. I guess the expire or something. I found my wife in a pile of garbage while working on a garbage truck. I was working being trained as a garbage man, and one day a woman was throwing out way too much good stuff, boxes of books, and I could see she was trying to fill a car and minivan, so I figured she was moving and having to sacrifice good stuff. I talked to her and offered to come back later and help her move so she didn't have to throw away so much stuff, and it ended up being a story that her husband left her for her best friend and they moved in together and she couldn't afford the townhouse anymore as she was undergoing cancer treatment. We got married 1 year later. I like to say I found her in the trash and fixed her up, but the truth is it is opposite. I was the trash she fixed up. My dad used to do the cleaning for a mall and he would bring us some amazing stuff sometimes. I remember he once came back home with a backpack full of miniature toys, like the ones you find in Kinda Surprise, another time an entire toy kitchen, and some kids magazines, Letites Princesses. I loved it. He also found a lot of stuff for our home, but I was a kid, so I remember the toys more than anything. My dad worked at a landfill for most of my childhood, and my brother and I both got into related companies that directly dealt with landfills for a while. One of the most common things I remember hearing about and seeing all the time were clothing with minor irregularities that had to be thrown away by said clothing company. It was stuff like Roxy, Vans, and other stuff you'd see at places like Tilly's or similar clothing store. One of my old coworkers' families basically were closed their whole life from this type of clothing being dumped. The clothing was clean, or could be cleaned to a decent level, that the clothing was fine to wear. It was dumb stuff like small rip, missing zipper, or some other weird thing they couldn't sell it that way. Everyone at the landfill was basically in on the scheme. When the truck with the clothing pulled up to the fee booth, someone would radio people at the dump site, and it was like a pack of vultures. Everyone on the site would swarm the truck as soon as everything was dumped out of the truck. Worked as a garbage man for a very short time last summer, but the best thing I found was an edition of my local newspaper from the day after the Challenger exploded. Elaine Cedar Chest. I was helping my dad clean out this lady's garage, and she said, as long as we were there, we might as well take that too. She said she always hated the smell of cedar, but her husband wouldn't let her get rid of it, and now that he was dead, she was sending it on its way. The veneer was never in great shape, but it still keeps my wool items safe. I've had it for over 30 years now. My little brother was emptying out a client's basement and everything was going to be thrown away, so my brother was told to keep anything he wanted. He saw a nice looking bike and took it. Turns out it was a Dahon Mupi 8 30th anniversary limited edition and in perfect condition. From what I found on it, it goes for over $4,000. In the 80s I picked up a number of Philips color TVs. I had a few, so fixing them was just a question of swapping parts. I then sold them cheaply or gave them away to fellow students. When I was a kid I found a couch. It wasn't very big, but that's why it was so great. 10-year-old me was able to carry it all the way home by myself. About a block and a half. This was before kids having cell phones were huge, so I didn't call my parents about it first, and they were at the store anyways. So I took the couch home and put it in my room. It was pretty dated, made of some material I've never encountered again so far, but I thought I was the shit. I had a whole couch in my room. How many 10-year-olds had couches in their room? Well, my parents came home and clearly weren't happy, but given I carried it up to the second story and got it into my room, they let me keep it. My downstairs neighbor helped me. I felt like a king. I had a couch. I had a big box TV for my PlayStation. I had it all. Simpler times. Edit. So I just realized I misread the post entirely, and that this was intended for the garbage pickup people, and not dumpster diving stories. My bad. Lol. My dad was a trash man. When I was growing up, he would always be bringing cool stuff home to us. He used to always say that the poor neighborhoods had the most trash and they threw away literally everything. The two best ones that I can think of was a brand new BMX bike and like 20 Nintendo 64 games that he found at a video rental store. Also once at the transfer station one of his co-workers found a dummy arm in the big pile of trash. He pulled it, and it ended up being a dead guy. The police later determined that it was a homeless person that got picked up and died when the trash truck compacted him. I worked as a garbage man in 1972. A small stray cat jumped into the back of the hopper to look for food. I took him home and named him Sagan. This was the best thing. Second best thing, someone threw out an old pair of skis. There was snow on the ground and me and the other guy each took a ski and stood on it and held onto the truck. Great fun. Third best, we found an entire case of Brylcreem, look it up, and me and the other guy had Brylcreem fights all day. Total mess. I stripped off before going into my house after work. Worst things, a garbage can that had live coals in it that started our truck on fire. In the early 2000s my best friend's dad was a garage man. I used to hang out at their house a lot, and I remember him finding uncut sheets of holographic Dragon Ball Z trading cards in the trash and bringing them back. They were super dope to see. I worked in the scrap metal business and have found not one, but two of three exact same bread statue of two bears screwing each other. Brass statue, my bad. My friend found a PS4, excellent condition, and a brand new controller still in the box. Found a 55-inch TV next to the dumpster 4 years ago. It was missing one HDMI port on the side. It looked like someone might have tripped and ripped it out. Anyway, I opened it up, googled the motherboard serial number, and found a brand new replacement for like $60 less than 25 minutes away. Needless to say, I called ahead on my day off, picked it up, and it works like a charm. Still use the TV to this day. 55 and Sony 2012 LCD TV. I have Chromecast with Google TV hooked up to it now and it's awesome. 2021 and going strong. My uncle was, still is, a garbage man and found a fully boxed Power Rangers Megazord toy. I don't remember which season or what, but it had been previously opened and all of the parts and such were still inside. I don't remember if they sold it off or what, but it was super cool to see. A part of me feels like maybe a collector tossed their boxes away and mistakenly threw the whole figure with it, or some kid's parents ditched it while cleaning up after a birthday or Christmas. I don't know, but feels bad. I'm not a garbage man, but I once scored a whole custom built staircase from a dumpster. It was in perfect condition, but apparently built to the wrong spec. It worked great for my barn. My father was a garbage man who also did cleanouts for homes and businesses, where they rip apart the entire building and throw everything out in their dumpsters. He worked on a ton of really massive houses, some worth tens of millions of dollars. One was worth 40 million and wasn't even the permanent residence. Best things I got as a kid. A pretty much unused trampoline with a net and everything. A go-kart that my dad's friend was able to fix up, and we used all the time. I live on a dead end. And once he cleaned out a deli that was closing down, and we no joke had unlimited Snapples and sodas of every flavor for almost a year. I'd drink the Snapples while out on the trampoline. I used the hell out of all three of those things in my childhood. Not me, but my brother. Someone apparently threw out grandpa's stuff from the attic after he passed away. This was the last scheduled pickup at the house and everything was already moved out. Nobody living there. Driving an automated claw to grab and dump truck. My brother was irritated there were these 2 bowling bags he had to get out to throw in the truck. He realized they seemed a bit heavy, so he opened them to see why. Inside there was real silverware/flatware. He ended up selling it for scrap prices to a jeweler and got $3,000. I used to remodel Sam's Clubs. If a case of juice that's meant to be sold is separated, they throw it out. I used to take it to shelters if I could catch them before it went in the dumpster. Display items like end tables, patio umbrellas, and in one case, a leather recliner with a small rip in the bottom, are thrown out. Vegetables and fruit are thrown out. Took them home for horses, rabbits, and other animals. Not a garbage person, but I live in a large apartment complex. I could have furnished multiple apartments with all the stuff that gets thrown out here, and partially furnished mine, but the best thing we've seen in the pile was one of those grandfather clocks you can make from a kit. Still looked very nice, but it needed some fixing to get it to run again. I'm still waiting to find a piano. I would like a piano. Not me, but stepdad claims his worst route ever is wintertime pickup at a buffalo slaughterhouse. It's so cold early morning, Colorado, that the bloody buffalo heads and other parts ice up and back, and he has to get in and break them apart with an axe to close the hatch. Smoker, drinker, and his back is full of metal pins and rods from surgery. Still gets up at 3 AM every morning to haul trash. Here's a tough sob.